All right, you guys, Drake Riggs here for MMAnia.com, once again joined by the champ, Liz Carmouche. We're at a bit of a home game here for the PFL, Liz. I mean, very exciting. It's more home for me now, too, 3 hours away. But is it cool and nice to be, I know you don't do the training here in Nashville, but still convenient, right?
Yeah, no, it's super nice. Like, I had somehow messed up I have like a cut weight bag, and it has all my all the clothes that get nasty that I don't want to have, like regular clothes. And they got wet and they got mold on them. So my wife was able to come pick it up, wash it for me, bring it back. I'm like, that's convenient. We hung out for a little bit. And so it's definitely nice. And then Nashville does feel like home. So it's nice to be here and know that I can stay for a few days afterwards and not have to like rush off right away.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely nice. And you mentioned the wife, what anniversary? Last week?
Just 6-year anniversary.
Wow, congratulations. That's awesome. So kind of sucks not being able to do something right away, right? So are you planning for something after the fight, after the season? What's going on? You got to do something.
Yeah, we definitely have to do something after the season. Again, like this next fight will be the same deal. It's just right back into fight camp. And my wife has made it pretty clear. She's like, I don't want to do anniversaries with you in fight camp. It's not fun. And I think we've maybe had one that wasn't in fight camp.
Only one?
Only one. And I still owe her a honeymoon. So I feel like after the season, we'll do the honeymoon, we'll do the anniversary, do all that.
Well, any ideas for something big then? It seems like it's been
I have some
piling up
ideas.
here.
I have some ideas,
all right, we'll keep them secret. But Liz, I mean, we made the jokes that I missed the last fight, which is like the worst one to miss because it was pretty crazy, but we haven't talked about it yet. So congrats on great win over Kana again. In a different fashion though, right? Like this was a comeback, one of the comebacks of the year, one of the comebacks of the last 5 years. It was pretty crazy. I mean, what is the feeling like for a win like that, especially compared to the first one? They're both two different kinds of great, right? But
yeah.
I don't know, is it more satisfying to show that you can get through those moments like that last fight, or I guess how do you compare them?
Yeah, I think when I look at it for the fans, I think that's what I have to think of. And for them, they're like, oh man, she's on the scorecard, she's losing this fight. And to think of the comeback and how exciting that was for them. And then to know that I secured the finish. Right. Because if I'd gone to decision, it wouldn't have done anything for me. It wouldn't have, both of us would be knocked out of the tournament. Yeah. Absolutely nothing. So knowing that I was able to pull that off is definitely a much more satisfying feeling than feeling like I just clipped her and caught her.
Yeah, totally understandable there. And I mean, what do you say? Where do you say that win kind of falls in the Liz Carmouche pantheon of fights, like, right? Because it was a crazy moment, especially with the stakes of the PFL.
I think when you factor the stakes, when you factor like the fan excitement, it's up there. It's got to be like top two. But when I think of the satisfaction for me, the first finish over Kana was way more satisfying.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, that one just shut up so many people to be like, Liz Carmouche maybe doesn't have hands or can't strike, and you go ahead and do that. So it's kind of different ways to view it, right? Perspective. Exactly. So there we are. But Liz, I mean, we're at this point in the tournament now. Physically, how are we feeling? Like, I know you're always in shape and whatnot, but everyone talks about the tolls of so many weight cuts in a row at the PFL. Anthony Pettis has talked about that. Everyone who's kind of come over. Where are we at in terms of that? We're here, but...
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I mean, the advantage I had is, like, one of the fights I had, I came back from a fight, and I had a 3-week notice to replace because Lima had gotten injured. That's how I originally fought Kana. And it's one of those things where I'm back in the gym on Monday, regardless of what's going on, because if it's not my own fight camp I'm training for, then one of my training partners has something. And for, like, the small 125ers, there's only, like, 3-4 of us. And of those 3 or 4, there's only 2 of us that are pro. The other 2 are amateur. So that doesn't leave a lot. Like the rest of the room, we're 45ers, 55ers, and above that we'll mix together. But getting a good training partner is the same size. That means it's myself and one other person. So when we come back from fights, we're like, hey, you got to zip tie, super glue, and duct tape everything back together and get back in there because I need your help, you need my help. So for me, I feel good. I feel like I'm completely fine, and surprisingly didn't really take damage from the fight, so I was able to get back to training without any bumps and bruises.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned the training partners right there. What is there a limit you would say on weight class, like size, that you'll go with? Like 55, is that max, too much, or?
It depends on the person. It depends on the person. If you had asked me in the first few years of fighting, there was no weight class I wouldn't train with. Because in my mind, I'm like, well, if I can pick up a heavyweight, if I can take the hit from a heavyweight, then no girl's going to hurt me. And then if I'm as fast as the people that are weight classes below me, then the people in my weight class are going to seem slow. So that was my mentality then, but then it caused injuries. I'm like, hey, I was pretty concussed my first year of fighting, so maybe not the best route, and I've learned from there.
Right.
So with the right training partners, and depending on what we're working on, I will absolutely go with them. But I try and play as smart as possible and keep it as close to my weight as possible.
And then after all these years, what's your take on like men and women sparring and training together? Like,
I only have male training partners.
okay.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I will say that there's one that I train with in Virginia Beach that is great for judo, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling.
Everyone mentions the flexibility difference.
It is, and that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing,
Yeah.
is like when you get into grappling, anything where you get into close contact and you're controlling their body. Like if you're doing striking, the flexibility isn't really factor into it. But you do anything grappling, whether it's against the cage or on the ground, 100%. There's things I crank on with the guy. He's like, hey, I'm tapping. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I do with the girl, and she twists out, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
This doesn't look good.
That just looks painful.
Yeah.
So it absolutely is a big factor, and it's really important to get that training in.
All right, good to know. So I mentioned kind of the difficulties of the tournament, Liz, but I love to ask you the obscure questions, right? So overall, like, what would you say is the hardest thing you've done in your life? Because I know there's been a lot of tough things.
The hardest thing I've done in my life, honestly, is being away from my wife and my son during this tournament. Just because my wife has a rare heart disease, she has autoimmune diseases, and so when she's not feeling good, she doesn't have support, especially since we moved to Tennessee. At least we're in California, we had friends, we had family, that's where she was born and raised. So she had a whole community that was there to help support her. Whereas here, it's just her. So if she's not feeling good, she's on her own. And then you have my 8-year-old son. It's like, hey, no, you're not feeling good. I'm going to sit still for all of like 2 seconds. I'm going to be a madman. And she's like, will you just please chill for a second?
Help mom out.
So it's been the hardest thing, is just missing out on the things that he's doing in life, and then wanting to be there to help take care of her through those hardships.
Have they been to any of your fights before? I'm sure your wife has.
Yeah, they've both been to fights.
Okay.
Yeah, my son's been to the fights in Hawaii.
Okay.
And the fight in San Diego, and then my wife's been to, I'd say majority of the fights.
Do you like that? More stress or less stress? Or
I prefer having her at home for the sole reason of her pacemaker goes off when she watches the fights live. When she's watched it on television, she somehow misses it. Like she accidentally tunes in, goes on the wrong channel, picks the wrong day, whatever it happens to be, and messes up, and is like, why am I watching? I feel like this is an old fight.
Right.
And she's like, she's not even on this fight card. And then she's getting texts of congratulations and everything.
Oh my goodness.
So it's better on her because then her pacemaker doesn't go off and she feels better.
Right.
So for that sake, but also like having her as soon as I'm done is really nice.
Okay. All right, yeah, definitely makes sense. A lot of dynamics there, Liz.
Yeah.
But all right, well, wishing you the best, of course, as always, for the upcoming fight here. Thanks so much again, and happy anniversary.
Thank you.